Hello and welcome to the Spirit Change Podcast. Today I'll be talking about all things fireworks, barbecues, and personal finance as it relates to the 4th of July in 2022. This year we've already seen quite a bit of economic impacts and quite a bit of talks around inflation and ways that our money is essentially buying less every day. So one of the statistics that I've found in multiple sources, and I'll include those in the links below, is that firework costs are up 35% compared to last year. And not to say that that's not expected, but it is very significant when we think about, oh, well, last year I bought this amount of fireworks and now I'm going to go and try and get the same amount, except now I can buy like maybe a bottle rocket. So one of the things I would like to kind of highlight is, like, if you didn't plan for the holidays, now you're in a position where, well, you might just be going to somebody else's firework display because, it's really hard to plan for a market that increases that much within a year's time. Speaking on more numbers, as far as the increase overall in cost. Skip the slide. The cost of the average 4th of July or Independence Day cookout is up 17%. So, like, when we're talking about putting food on the table, food insecurity is a huge problem. And it's not just for your backyard cookout, it's for buying groceries day to day. It's the cost of a meal at a restaurant. And no matter what position you're coming at it from, it's really hard to justify some of the prices that we're seeing now because in such a short time span, the amount of food that we're able to put on the table has decreased significantly at the same dollar value. So, not to say that there's a near-term solution, just a lot of people are not going to be able to afford the same amount of food that was in their fridge last year. And the situation hasn't gotten much better over time. But that's not to say that we as Americans spend less. In fact, we probably spend more now. The appetite hasn't gone away. And a lot of that consumerism is still alive and well. So let's talk about fireworks spending per resident in 2021. Sources listed, but I'll include my sources, like I said earlier. Overall, this is based on mostly population size, but as a kid from Florida, I'm kind of disappointed to see that 62 cents is the spending per person. If you divvy it up, all the consumer spending and all the pyrotechnic spending, all the spending that you would expect Florida to be doing on explosives and fireworks and sending rockets off in your backyard, we're actually one of the lower states. But then you see Missouri at like $13 per person. So it's interesting to kind of see these numbers, where the expenses have gone up and where the spending is higher. But a lot of it's got to do with population size. So where you're living has a lot to do with the costs that you're going to face. Cost of living has a huge impact, not only on fireworks, but on the house you live in, the food you're able to put on the table, what job you need, how many kids you want to have, XYZ. And we're seeing a lot of new economic factors roll in almost on the daily basis. So it's really hard to plan for these kinds of expenses. The bulk of my conversation today is going to be around the idea that fireworks and what fireworks do have a lot in common with personal finances. So let's talk about coming from a very entry position into investing or finances. What would I do typically? And that's, I would save my money because I know that it's better to have money than to not. So savings, that's your sparkler of sorts. It's fun. You hold it close. It can be that little bit of brightness that you wanted for the day, but it's not as enticing as that large finale that everybody wants, which is retirement. But before we even talk about retirement, there's some steps along the way. Some of those steps include building up personal assets, whether you want to invest in real estate and have a portfolio of investments in different income building properties, and the ability to live where you want, and that financial independence and freedom. But then you also need some other things that are going to help balance out the market of housing, because it moves inversely to stocks and the wider economy. So what else would you want to have? Well, if you diversify with stocks, bonds, exchange traded funds, and all sorts of things are available, but we can get locked into choice overload. With fireworks, you've got Roman candles, or you've got that monster truck that runs around, or the tank that shoots really bright and really loud, like bullets everywhere. Or you've got a rocket that screams high into the sky and just explodes and sends down a shower of bright light and color. These things are all great in the long run, but we're still not quite at that big finale that we're shooting for. And that's where we talk about value and time. So different investments and different objectives that we have different value to each of us, and different value in what they provide over time. So you might not have a profitable investment today, but if you sell it while it's not profitable, it won't be profitable tomorrow either. You've only lost money. And then if you have a profitable investment that you've been pushing as the main builder for your retirement, and all of a sudden the market drops 30-40%, and you were supposed to retire tomorrow, and you took no profits over time, then you're in a much worse position than what you expected to be. Not to say that timing the market is a good thing, or that we should try and do that, because often it leads to more pain. And it's like holding a firework in your hand and watching the fuse go down. You might be able to get away with it, but that risk-taking behavior and that trying to determine something that's unpredictable can bite you in the end. And then we'll talk about retirement. As much as everybody wants to get to that finale, it does take time. It does take a build up, and that suspense is why we enjoy the finale of fireworks so much. When it comes to retirement, one of the biggest things that we face is questioning when. Do I want to retire at 60? Do I want to retire in my mid 30s? How many different income streams do I want when I retire? Do I want a business? Do I want just pulling from my 401k? Do I want the kids that I had along the way to be my retirement? Do I want to have them handle all of my assets, finances, and hopefully they're an NFL player, but you can't guarantee that. But overall, if you think about finances like you think about fireworks, it starts to kind of simplify the objectives, right? You want to have a bunch of different things going on that all support the end goal, which is that big finale. And you want things that bring you joy over that time span before the finale comes about. That's really the bulk of the conversation. Hopefully it brings some value. Wasn't looking to keep this too long. I've included sources here as well as in the description. If anybody would like to have further conversations about blowing stuff up in their backyard, or, not blowing up their portfolio, but seeing the right numbers, or maybe a different approach to how you're investing or how you think about money. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial coach. I'm very much just someone who's trying to help. So I'm here if anyone would like to talk about those things. If not, I'm still going to. And I hope you have a great 4th of July. And good night.